Alright ladies, I got a video for you today, and this is for you men as well. 11 men's fragrances, men's designer fragrances that are totally unisex. So if you have a boyfriend or husband that wears these fragrances and you thought, oh, they smell great, maybe I could wear it, but said, oh, well, it's for men, I shouldn't, I would say think again and perhaps wear it. In fact, some of these fragrances have similar alternatives or even very close alternatives, and I'll let you know what they are. And I think they're totally fragrances you can share with your husband, boyfriend, or whatever if they wear it. Or if they don't and you've been curious about it, get it for yourself because I think they smell great. Anyway, 11 total men's designer fragrances. I shouldn't say designer, there's some niche fragrances in here as well that are totally unisex, coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, today I'm talking about 11 men's fragrances, men's targeted, that are totally unisex is what I'm talking about today. And there are some usual suspects. There's several Muglers here. But I wanted to also point out some of these probably are on their way out because I don't see them on some of the websites. But there's a few other designer brands and of course a couple of niche houses as well that I think have men's targeted fragrances that are totally unisex. And totally, you can wear them by yourself even if you don't have a husband or boyfriend or someone that has these. They're totally unisex. And also if you buy it and you want to tempt your husband or boyfriend to wear them along with you, they're totally targeted. They're totally targeted for men. Anyway, I'll tell you what they are, but before I do, if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. I wanted to start off right off the bat and ask you guys, how many of you think it's important to keep fragrances targeted to a certain gender for that gender? How many are you totally fine with not keeping that rule, and how many of you are totally for that rule and you don't share fragrances, you don't wear a woman's fragrance if you're a man, vice versa? And how many of you don't even like unisex fragrances? I'd like to find out because I personally think all fragrances are unisex. Especially given the fact that these fragrances smell very unisex for me and are totally possible for both sexes to share. Anyway, we'll start off with the first one. First one is Pure HAVANE from the House of MUGLER. Totally unisex for me. It's a syrupy honey tobacco fragrance with light cherry syrup-like touches in there, along with vanilla, cocoa, patchouli, and amber. I know lots of women that love this. They totally wear it. And for me, these notes, you know, they're very, very unisex notes. So nothing masculine about the notes. Tobacco might be, but is there really tobacco in this one? It's hardly tobacco. For me, it's mostly honeyed vanilla with cacao, light patchouli touches. Yes, there's light tobacco in here, ambery, but it's very, very unisex for me. I highly think it's a very unisex fragrance. Those of you that are fans of it, let me know. Those of you that are ladies that wear this one, let me know. Put a comment down so that I can find out. Either way, that's Mugler's Pure HAVANE. Next up, Mugler's Pure Malt. Once again, a very, very unisex fragrance featuring dried fruits, malt, peat, whiskey, orange, and patchouli. It's a Mugler men's fragrance that's very, very unisex. In fact, I should do a little comparison. For me, out of the two, I think Pure HAVANE is a lot more unisex than Pure Malt, but still, I feel like both of them are pretty unisex. And I like this one. It's boozy, it's dried fruit. Although I have a love-hate relationship with it, lately it's been smelling great again. And it's the whole boozy whiskey-like thing with the Mugler DNA with the patchouli, but there is a kind of an ambery orange touch in here as well. Very, very nice fragrance. In fact, it was a very love at first sniff when I first started wearing it. Enjoyed it for a long time, but I kind of go back and forth lately thinking the fragrance has gotten reformulated, something's different about it, then I leave it behind and then come back to it and start smelling it again and I go, oh, that smells great. Either way, that's Mugler's Pure Malt. One other thing I want to mention, this fragrance was not on Mugler's website for a while. No, this fragrance was not on Mugler's website for a while. I thought it was discontinued, but now I see it on the Mugler website. But at the same time, this was on the Mugler website, Pure Malt, This is pure Havane. And now this is not on the Mugler website. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's their whole changeover with L'Oreal. We shall see. So if you like these fragrances, I highly recommend you pick up bottles now. Maybe they're being discontinued, maybe not. I don't know 100%. The next one, the third and final Mugler, is a pure Tonka. Once again, I think this is very, very unisex, but I do want to warn you, this one is not on the Mugler website, so this can be discontinued as well. But I do enjoy the whole Tonka bean thing here. It's, you know, Tonka beans, similar to the Tonka beans in Fève Delicious, but they don't smell like similar fragrances because their end results are different. But this one features coffee, cacao, vanilla, lavender, licorice. The lavender is totally prominent. I think there's some patchouli in here as well. Definitely is, because of the whole Mugler DNA, Amen DNA thing with the patchouli. But it's absolutely delicious. It's a great, great scent for Tonka bean lovers. And then this is the Tonka bean, similar to the Mugler style. Either way, Mugler Pure Tonka, totally unisex. I think both sexes can totally pull that one off. Next, going to the house of Bentley. It's Bentley for Men Intense. Got to put this one on here because in the end, for me, this fragrance reminds me of two unisex fragrances from the niche world. Olfactive Studios Chambre Noire and also Luban's Idole. Both of those are unisex, and I think this one is, although I think it's more of a masculine unisex, but still I think there are touches in here that are totally unisex for me, like the booziness, the cinnamon, the amber, and then of course there's benzoin. Benzoin is beautiful resin, very vanillic, it's in here, but you have also incense leather, there's woodsy notes, and cedar and bay leaf. Great, great creation, I think. It's a great creation. And it's also very, very inexpensive. It's the kind of thing, like if you're a woman and you're buying this, you can kind of give it to your husband or boyfriend and say, I can wear that one too, kind of a thing, you know? I think it's totally unisex. This is Bentley for Men Intense. Check it out. Get a sample or decant or something, or smell it in a store if you can, because I totally think you can totally wear it if you're a woman. And of course, men seem to like that one. So while you're watching this video, you're going to notice that I'm not throwing in the ultra masculine fragrances like aromatic, fougères, and things like that. A lot of the notes that are present in these fragrances are vanillic and oriental notes, and I feel like those are definitely unisex styles of fragrances. Like the next one, we're going to the house of ZADIG and VOLTAIRE, and this is for him Intense. The reason I'm adding this one here is, in the end, it's vanilla with sandalwood, incense, black pepper, and grapefruit. It's a dry experience, not syrupy sweet. It is sweet, but not ultra sweet. It's spicy with the black pepper, slightly smoky from the incense, and it has a zingy, fresh touch from the grapefruit, and of course the sandalwood. I always think that sandalwood goes creamy, but in the end it does, but this is more like a dry, powdery, creamy altogether. Make sense? But a beautiful fragrance. This is ZADIG and VOLTAIRE's for him Intense. Check it out if you don't know it. And this next one is so unisex for me. In fact, the brand decided to release a slightly floral version of the fragrance for women. This is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme. They have Noir Femme, and they're very close to me. They're very, very close. And if they have a woman's version of it, very close to it, I think the men's version should be appropriate for women to wear as well. I think it's a totally unisex offering. Vanilla, amber, Kulfi, cardamom, nutmeg, rose, woodsy notes, sandalwood, neroli, orange blossom, a yummy, yummy, yummy fragrance. Tom Ford Noir Extreme, going back to that whole argument of extremes, if you caught my recent video, it doesn't really act like extreme, but it's the name. We're going to go with it. But for me, Tom Ford Noir, the original, I think was a little more extreme than this. But that's another whole story. But either way, this is a great, great, delicious, vanillic, oriental gourmand for men that women can totally pull off, and I find it to be ultra unisex for both sexes to be able to pull off. Either way, that's Tom Ford's Noir Extreme. If you don't know it, do check it out. This next fragrance is from the house of Dior. It's Dior Homme Intense, and with this one, Wow, delicious fragrance. So, so delicious. So recently Guerlain launched a fragrance called Iris Torrefi, which reminds me of this fragrance. The Iris Torrefi from Guerlain is unisex. Yes, it goes a little more into the lipsticky coffee direction, but in the end, Dior Homme Intense is very lipsticky to me. So I think women can totally pull this one off. It's that kind of a fragrance. This one features notes of iris with beautiful ambrette, and it's powdery, it's lipsticky. It's so good, guys. The smell is just one of those kind of smells that just does it for me. It's that kind of a smell. It's just lots of rich, concentrated, kind of a very, very, I want to say orgasmic kind of a smell. It's that kind of a smell. But it really does remind me of Iris Torrefi, whereas Iris Torrefi has the coffee and it's a little acidic smelling. It's very, very close to me. As soon as I smelled Iris Torrefi, I thought to myself, gosh, this is reminding me of Dior's Dior Homme Intense. So that's why I feel like this is a very, very unisex fragrance. And one more thing with this one, I've had actual men comment and say this is a very feminine fragrance. So anyway, either way, this is Dior Homme Intense. Check it out. I think it's a total unisex fragrance that could be shared by both men and women. Keeping it in the Dior family, it's Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. The reason I'm adding this one here as well, in the end, it's vanilla, right? Vanilla, boozy vanilla. It's quite delicious. And I'm adding it here. There's no other, yes there is. There's a fragrance recently that was launched from Olfactive Studio called Violet Shot. Even though they're not totally identical, this kind of hints at that fragrance a little bit, because this is, after all, known for the violet leaf, and that one has violet leaf as well, and it also has vanilla. It's not boozy, but that one's targeted unisex, and this, I think, is a very, very unisex fragrance for both men and women to be able to pull off. Vanilla, violet leaf, suede leather, rum, licorice, mandarin orange, and coriander. It's absolutely delicious. It's intoxicating. It's boozy, vanillic, cozy, comforting. All of that comes to mind. And it's very, very unisex. Both men and women can share this one. And don't let the Fahrenheit scare you. If you didn't like the original Fahrenheit, this one hints at it a little bit, but it's total gourmand. Anyway, this is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Going to the house of Givenchy, it's Gentleman Givenchy Intense. With this one, we're going into an ambery oriental direction with orris butter, so it's powdery, it's irisy, but lots of vanilla and tolu balsam, black pepper, lavender, patchouli. These two kind of remind me of one another a little bit. This is more ambery than this. This is less ambery and drier, but they have similarities with this one. The black pepper kind of reminds me of that with the vanilla. Vanilla is key. So if you like kind of ambery, vanillic, powdery, dry fragrances, definitely check this one out. It smells great. I know they keep cranking out the flankers. There's a new one coming out with this one, and I'm curious about it, but I think this still is my favorite flanker in this series that I quite like. I think it's a great, great alternative to Dior Homme Intense. They don't smell too much alike, if at all. I think the only thing they share is the iris orris thing. Either way, Gentleman Givenchy Intense is a great, great fragrance. And now we're left with a couple of niche fragrances. The first one being a fragrance from Amouage called Lyric Man. Lyric Man is a very, very unisex fragrance to me. It's rose with lime, angelica, musk, incense. There's some light piney touches in there, sandalwood, vanilla, ginger, and saffron. It's a jammy, juicy rose, almost like a rose water or rose juice, I should say, because it's kind of thick experience. And it's, you know, meshed with lime. It's limey, it's juicy, and rose and lime juice. Just think of like a juice you're drinking. That's the experience I get, but the smell is so great here. I love the smell, and the thing is, it smells thick, you know, like a thick and dense kind of a rose, but it's the kind of fragrance you can wear in the summertime when it's warm outside, and it's not going to be cloying. But a wonderful fragrance and a total unisex offering from Amouage. I think that's one of the things I like about Amouage, because their fragrances tend to be gender bending. Men's fragrances are very unisex, women's fragrances are very unisex, so the opposite of sexes can totally pull each one off very easily. And this is probably one of the best Amouage fragrances for me. That's Lyric Man, a great scent. Every time I forget about it, I come back to it and smell it. I'm like, oh my god, that smells so good. It still smells great today. And I'm going to end the video with Parfum de Marly's Herod. And the reason I'm also including this here, it's very vanillic. Once again, vanilla I think is a very unisex note. But recently Essential Parfums came out with a fragrance called Divine Vanille, which is created by the same perfumer who created this and also smells similar. So I'm going to say this is very unisex, even though I think it is overall. But tobacco, vanilla, cinnamon, osmanthus, incense, really, really delicious, guys. Very, very classy, fruity, vanillic, tobacco. It's the ashy kind of tobacco, not the leafy, but it works great here. It doesn't smell like tobacco vanille, but I hear people saying it does. For me, it doesn't. There's a fruitiness in here and not the cloves and the chocolatey touches that tobacco vanille has. I find this one to be a little more classy, and I find tobacco vanille to be abrasive, but I love both. But this is really, really great. Tobacco vanille is unisex targeted, so it would never make this list, but this is a male targeted, and I think it's a very, very unisex fragrance. Anyway, those are my fragrances. Very, very unisex men's fragrances that both men and women can pull off. Again, put a comment down. Let me find out, what do you guys think about fragrances, you know, targeted to men versus targeted to women, and if you like to wear the opposite sex's fragrances, and if you have a problem or issue with it or not. I'd like to find out. Also, let me know if you are fans of these fragrances and you're men, what do you think? Are they unisex? On the other side, if you're a woman and you wear these fragrances, do you think they're unisex? Obviously, you're wearing them and you think they are. Put some comments down so I can find out. Other than that, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.